Here we are at the end of my post-Senior Bowl prospect rankings, talking about the edge rushers, and there's a ton of good edge rushers in this class, and unfortunately I only touch up on the top 10 in this video. But if you want to see my top 20, which still doesn't feel like a lot because this is a very good class, you could go check out on my Twitter. But what's crack-a-lackin' is your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become a bro and subscribe, leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, a beautiful football discourse. Let's go ahead, get into the sucker with number 10, Andre Carter out of Army. I know he's probably a big faller for some guys after the Senior Bowl, but I mean, in all honesty, this guy's got the size, length, and athleticism to win at the next level. It's just he needs to get in an NFL weight room. It just doesn't look like he'll be able to. He's not going to be a 3-down player early in his career. You might be able to play him more as a DPR guy early, but like the makings are there. Like he plays with a big motor. He's a high effort player. He moves that long body he has exceptionally quickly. When we go look at the length, how he measured out, 34-inch arms. That's pretty darn huge if you didn't know. But he never stops moving his feet when engaged, and you know, I love that. I love guys that just keep churning and churning and churning. It shows good manipulation when he catches blockers on their heels, and he shows good movement skills around the line of scrimmage as he's made plays both in the flats and in the run game, in coverage as well. He's still, again, the work in progress, still needs to fill out that frame, and he's missing a lot of power to his game, and he's just raw from an everything type of standpoint. Like, the dude is high out of his stance, doesn't always get great leverage, doesn't play with pop. When we were looking at him at the one-on-ones at the Senior Bowl in run fits, it didn't look good. It really didn't. He doesn't have that anchor in the in run defense. So it's like, yes, he's a bit of a project, but I think he's a project worth investing in. I still got him in as a top 75 player in this class, even though despite wasn't winning as much this year. Obviously the sacks went way down. I think he only had 4 this year, but still a plus 20% win rate, like 21.4 this season. That's still really darn good. On to number 9, I got Isaiah Foskey out of Notre Dame. Got 6'5", 262, and he had a solid Senior Bowl. He had that impressive rep day 1 where he put Ryan Hayes just right on his tuchus. Even Hayes was just shaking his head as he came back for one more helping of Isaiah Foskey. Like, Foskey's pretty darn good, man. He has leaps of potential, I would say, just from his body, his length, plays with a lot of juice, has really good get off, long frame. When attacking, like, he can literally move men back against their will. He plays violently, he plays with that pop in his hands. You just love to see it. He can be overwhelming when turning that speed into power. His rushes never really take him out of the play, and he doesn't need a clean get off to win. Like, he can drag blockers on his way to the quarterback. Like, he does just a solid job all around, and even setting the edge in the run game. The thing is, he relies just too much on that length and that upper body strength to win. He's still kind of refining the technique. He doesn't have many pass rush moves or counters yet. Doesn't consistently always play with leverage, but I think down the stretch he definitely did. And at the Senior Bowl, I thought he did a much better job at that. I thought he improved at that. There are times he can get moved out of the way on run plays or moved outside. There are times where he's more along for the ride than being a true disruptor. Really doesn't seem he's like either a player that can move inside, despite how much size he does really have. Like, again, he has great length and he could put on more size, but like 262, it's like, oh, pass now, maybe kick him inside. I don't think that's necessarily going to be something he can do. He does also take wide angles, a little stiff, not the most bendy guy, but I don't think he's like detrimental in that regard. But I like him. I got him as this like fringe top 50 player in this class. On to number 8. I got KEION White out of Georgia Tech, 6'5", 180 pounds. Redonkulous. On top of that, he's got plus length. Had a very good Senior Bowl where I thought he was consistently pushing the pocket and then winning in some cases. This guy's a 6-year senior. Keep in mind, man, he was a former 3-star recruit, 2017 class, went to Old Dominion, went there as a tight end, made the switch in 2019, had a banger year, 45 pressures, 5 sacks, decided to transfer to Georgia Tech. Unfortunately, in that Rona season, decided to opt out of the season, and then an ankle injury in 2021 cost him, I think, the whole season. He may have played maybe only a handful of snaps that year, but it was really 2022 that was kind of his coming out party, so to speak. 41 pressures, 7 sacks, and this is a guy that has drastically changed his body over the course of his collegiate career, and he was kind of a total mystery coming into this season, what his role would be, what would he exactly do, and it was a little bit of everything. Like, he is a pass rusher that kind of favors strength, favors leverage, nice bull rush, good push-pull move, nice burst, he'll hit blockers at full speed with full momentum, really just putting them on their heels, and he really aligned multiple places there for Georgia Tech. I mean, you could go back to his ODU days, where when they would often face Virginia and Virginia Tech, which is Power 5 competition. Back in 2019, 12 pressures, 2 sacks in those 2 games. And keep in mind, one of those games was against Christian Adarisaw. Like, he's a great athlete at his size, and he plays with a lot of power, and he has that positional versatility. However, it's just he's still so raw despite being a 6-year player. He's going to be 24 going into his, rookie season. There we go. Like, he's got a little wiggle to him, but by no means is he a lateral athlete. He doesn't have the agility for that. He doesn't really own a toolbox of pass rush moves, and he is just somewhat a guy you do not want playing out in space. 14.3 missed tackle rate in 2019. If you look back this season, that number was a bit better, but still something you prefer not to have. You love to see that he took the step up against Power 5 competition and went on in the Senior Bowl against even better competition and did well, made himself a lot of money. I don't think I'm necessarily that sold on him as like a true first rounder, but I got him in the top 50 range. So at the back round of the first round, if his name comes off the board, I still feel like that's a solid pick. Number 7, I got Will McDonald. Had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. I have him listed as a first rounder. I think I'm probably going to just put him in top 50. I think he's more of that fringe first round variety. 6'3", 241. I mean, people are just going to love that. They're going to love the explosiveness, but I feel like we were talking about Arnold Ebiketie as a top, as a fringe first rounder. He ends up going early second. I think that's probably a better range for Will McDonald, but man, he was just consistently winning on the one-on-ones at the Senior Bowl. Had a very impressive rep against Darnell Wright on, I believe it was day 2 of practice. But he's a flexible, twitched up player, tremendous get off, 22% win rate through his career, which is pretty impressive because 62% of his snaps actually came from 3-man fronts, and this is together with both 2021 and 2022. He's got an impressive bull rush, like combining that length, because he's got 34-inch arms, but combining that length with just exceptional explosiveness, kind of creating that own power. He's got good closing speed, very good in pursuit, plays with tenacity, and ideally he's probably more of a Y9 player because, fun fact, he's kind of a toothpick, a very long toothpick, but he's very slim. Like, he could definitely put on more, I would say, bulk. The missed tackle rate was much better this season, but he was kind of playing out of position at Iowa State. His anticipation is inconsistent, and sometimes he's late to come off the snap. I feel like that was a bit better at the Senior Bowl, but again, it's kind of hard to gauge that. You typically just want to go with the tape. You don't want necessarily just a week of performance kind of dictate what you saw all year. But I think he's exceptionally solid, man. I really do. I think he's definitely a guy that could sneak into the first round, but I'd probably like him better as that mid to early second round player. But let's go ahead and get into my for sure first rounders. At number 6, I have Nolan Smith out of Georgia. Unfortunately, we have the torn pectoral with him. We won't see him during the offseason draft process. But 6'3", 235, so yeah, not exactly ideal size. But he's going to test. I think he's going to measure out well. I think he'll get to that plus 33-inch arms, which you kind of want from your pass rusher. It's not necessarily necessary, but when you are undersized, ideally you kind of would want that. He is a former 5-star recruit. This year, you look at the numbers, and it's like not that impressive, but keep in mind, Georgia does a really good job of keeping fresh guys on the field, and he had a 25% win rate. Like, I know the numbers don't look good, but you look at that win rate, and it's like it's pretty darn impressive. It really is, because this dude flies off the edge. He has great explosiveness. He's got the short area quicks that allows him to not only get pressure but also force runs inside. He covers ground quickly, and he closes the distance on ball carriers relatively easy. He also has dropped back in coverage actually a bit for the Bulldogs. Like, his athleticism I think allows him to do that. To be fair, it was really just these like curl zones, hooks, and whatnot, so nothing too serious, but still something to note that he has done that. I like that he keeps his feet moving through contact, which is something you're going to really want to do when undersized, that people want to see you still getting after it. He's better than you'd expect as a run defender at his size. Despite lacking that power, he still plays very physically with blockers in the run game, and you want to see that. Now, he's lean, needs to add more size. We get it. There are times against the run he does get locked up. He does have trouble occasionally disengaging, or he'll occasionally like overrun plays. Some of that was more 2021. As you could see, there were a lot of improvements in that regard in the early 2022 season. But I mean, oh man, like, he lacks power moves. It's what you expect. Like, listen, like, the production may not be elite, but when the win rate was, like, you want to see that plus 25. That's kind of like, ooh. So while I'm still a bit hesitant, I still think he can be a first round player. It just might kind of depend where he goes, like, schematically wise. Number 5, BJ OJULARI. I loved his brother Aziz coming out, and I love BJ as well. I know that sounds kind of dirty, but I'm not taking it back. BJ OJULARI, 6'3", 244, 49 pressures, 9 sacks this past season. He remained pretty dominant as a pass rusher this season, but he did miss time with a knee injury. If you're like, those pressures look a little bit down, it's like he missed time this year. This dude just has rare get off and bend at the edge position, whether it's from a 2-point or a 3-point stance. The combination of explosiveness and length is very desirable. He turns speed into power while working with good leverage, and that is just a deadly combination. He keeps his hands active, and he won't keep himself locked up despite, again, lacking that strength. Still able to use a very good speed to power concept. You love that. Like, he leans on a really nasty spin move as well if he gets locked up, and he uses that to free himself. Plays to the whistle. He's very persistent in blindside pursuit, but he is sub 250. You kind of want to get to that 250. It's not the end all be all, but ideally you're playing a bit closer to 250, ideally. Now, as a run defender, he does take bad angles sometimes, or he'll typically shoot for spots the ball carriers will be, and he just tends to get beat to those spots, or arrives there too early. He struggles to consistently shed in the run game, so maybe early on he's a DPR, but like, I think he's probably a 3-4 type of linebacker, 3-4 edge rusher, so to speak. But man, like, he plays with finesse. He plays with a huge toolbox. I like him a lot. Maybe I'm just a sucker for the OJULARI family, perhaps. All right, now let's get to these top 20 guys. Starting with Lucas Van Ness out of Iowa, 6'5", 229. I know people in the comments be like, oh, he never really started this year, but yet he out-snapped the guys who started in front of him, because you can't take the, once they put him on the field, you can't take him off. He has ideal length. He uses powerful hands to defeat blocks and ball carriers. He's shown very good get off. He's shown also that he can play on the inside. He was playing 3-tech in 2021, for goodness sake. He has violent hands that can dominate at the point of attack, and while his hand placement can be a bit more precise, sometimes it just didn't matter. Like, he's like a grizzly bear. You're really going to stop a grizzly bear? Nuh-uh. Nuh-uh. I was trying to... Revenant? What's that Leonardo DiCaprio movie? I think it's The Revenant? No. I don't even know. It's too long. The joke's gone. Doesn't matter. Let's keep going. So he can add more counters to his arsenal, and he has the ability to work... back inside and push the pocket. I think he's shown this. It's just about getting more pass rush moves. He typically is kind of maybe a 1-2 trick pony in that regard. He really relies on bull rushes and such, that power to kind of get by, and he plays with great leverage. I mean, I don't blame him. It works, and it worked extremely well. 46 pressures, 9 sacks. But he's going to have to do a little bit more at the NFL level. Like, I will say, okay, yeah, he's still a bit of a work in progress, not technically sound exactly. Like, his strikes could be a bit more precise. He could add more of those pass rushing moves to his toolbox. The change of direction is going to be interesting to see how he tests out in that. But even then, even if it's like middle of the road, I feel like that's kind of a minor critique. It's not really a big part of his game. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how he measures out, tests out. But I think there's a lot there to make you want to say, you know what? We could develop this guy to be exceptionally dominant. On to number 3, Tyree Wilson. Got him as a top 20 prospect in this class. Oh, you don't like that, Gojo? Here, let me let you out. All right, well, Tyree Wilson, 6'6", 275, fifth-year senior. If you didn't hear that, 6'6", 275. Plays in that standard Big 12 3-man fronts and whatnot, but he shows exceptionally light feet. Like, he moves exceptionally well. Like, this was DeMarvin Leal. Like, if y'all were here for the last draft cycle, a lot of people really liked DeMarvin Leal, and then the production just wasn't there. Well, the production's there for Tyree Wilson. I think Leal was much more put together in terms of hand usage than Leal, but I think Leal's going to test out better than... I think Wilson's going to test out better than Leal, who didn't test out up to everyone's expectations. Now, this dude wins with length and power. Like, he easily gains leverage. He can shoot gaps. His hands have so much pop. It looks like guys are getting hit by beanbag guns. Like, pop, pop, pop. Ah, it's painful. He stays low, gets good leverage, maintains a strong anchor in the run game. He is an exceptionally good run defender. He really is. So early on, he's going to be a 3-down player just because of that. But he is still a bit of a work of progress as a, I would say, as a pass rusher. I wouldn't say he's got elite get off, but it's all right. It's not bad. He isn't the natural bender, but at that size, you don't expect those guys to be. Well, I think his first step it's fine enough. There are times where he just mistimes the snap, whether he's early or late on it, and it makes it seem like he's way less explosive than he actually is. Hand strikes can be a bit more precise, and honestly, if they were, like, it's devastating. Like, if this cat used his hands much more better than he could put on clinics. I always nitpick the Liberty Bowl game in 2021 against Mississippi State, where he had to be moved away from Charles Cross, because Charles Cross just, all he did was win, 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 no matter what. Got money on his mind, and he could never get enough. But Wilson did, honestly, he rose to the occasion this year, but as a pass rusher, there is a bit of a ways to go here, and you're going to see that be kind of a common trend with these guys who have these high-end either physical or athletic tools that they're not complete, which is fine. You don't need to be a complete prospect when people are like, oh well, they don't have enough this, enough that. It's like, yeah, but I mean, in terms of like bonker tools, bonker athleticism or power, it's like you kind of bet on that in the first round and to try to develop it, hone it, and then they become these devastating pass rushers at the next level. So not saying necessarily that could be the theme for Wilson, but he's got those traits. On to number 2, Myles Murphy. I have him as a top 10. I can't help it. I love this guy. I'm a big fan. I get it. Feels like he's been the same prospect since his freshman season. But still, that's a pretty darn good prospect because he is a physical specimen at 6'5", 275. A man of his size just isn't supposed to have his type of get off of the line and just shouldn't be able to bend the way he's able to. Not saying he's the most bendy guy in this class, but like at his size, I think he bends exceptionally well. Has a ton of strength throughout his frame, delivers massive pop. Like this is like on contact. This is a cat that loves to impose his will on the offensive line. Like he's shown a plethora of different power moves. His length is just a problem, like both in the pass and the run game. And he's like, as a run defender, he's able to get his arm in there and he can drag guys down easy, one-handed. Oh, I got a couple of fingers on you. You ain't going nowhere. You're stuck. He does got nimble feet. Like there's a lot of things to like about him, but the thing is, he's raw. In a regard, he needs a lot more polish on a lot of his pass rush moves. Like he's demonstrated a variety of different moves. It's just there's not one he's particularly great at. There's this push-pull move he really loves, but even that needs a bit more polish. Like he's demonstrated a bunch of moves, he's just not particularly great at any of them. So he's just not technically sound, and that should come over time with good coaching. Overall, his technique does need work. He doesn't necessarily sink low enough to establish good leverage, and typically he's starting against the grain. He's starting one down because he's already given the offensive tackle or wherever he's lining up leverage, which is never. You always want to win the leverage game. So he'll get into these boxing matches where he's already starting behind the cup. I think I just made up that. I don't know. Behind the 8 ball. There we go. Said behind the cup. Jeez Louise. He needs to find more ways to counter. You kind of see that in the run game, where he'll get stuck, and there's not many, he hasn't shown much creativity in disengaging from blockers. But again, the tools, they're high end, bro. They just are, and I'm a big fan of Murphy in that regard. And then number 1, this is safely everyone's number 1. It's Will freaking Anderson. Very productive throughout his whole career. And fun fact, he was productive this year. 65 pressures, 14 sacks. He is at 6'4", 243. Like this sentence shouldn't necessarily come out of my mouth, but he is stupid strong and sturdy. Like he pinballs from one block to another, doesn't allow blockers to really get into his strike zone. He is relentless, and he consistently finds ways to the quarterback or anyone with the ball in their hands. His upper body strength is just ridiculous. He can manhandle guys much larger than him, and like he literally has significant pop behind his hands, like brick through a windshield. I love that phrase. I love that terminology. He is literally in control of almost every rep, and I haven't even mentioned, like, the dude's got elite get off. You love his speed. You love the burst. You love the bend. He's just a twitched up athlete who has all the production behind him as well. Now, if you want to nitpick, yes, okay. He could definitely add more bulk through his frame, but it doesn't mean he's lacking power, because he's not. Like, he is stupid strong. I will say this, he didn't have to win with many moves at the collegiate level. Like, he could definitely add more pass rush moves to his toolbox, but for what he had, he was consistently winning. Again, we're kind of nitpicking here. We assume they're going to develop that as they get into the NFL, but this is the cat that will be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. Easy breezy. Ton of guys I could have mentioned here. I really could have. Guys like Felix Anudike-Uzomah, Mike Morris, Zach Harrison, Derek Hall, Isaiah McGuire. We could talk about some of the other like day 3 guys like Jose Ramirez is a guy I'm pretty big on. O'Shane Mathis had a really good Shrine Bowl. So did BJ Thompson. This is a very good edge class. Very good. It's going to be very deep. I expect 30 plus edge players to have their names called in this draft. But if you want to check out my top 20, check out Twitter. And that's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing. As always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.